So good afternoon. We are here at the History of Philosophy and Social Science. And I'm going to report one interesting topic. But before I proceed or go to our topic, I'm introduce myself. So I'm Liway Alcasar Perla, 28 years old. I took 18 years of education at the Lasal University, Las Marinas. And last 2014, I took up a bachelor degree in business administration, major in operational management at STI College, Las Marinas, last 2013, and diploma in information technology, also in STI College, Las Marinas, last 2007. Okay? So our topic for this afternoon, the methodology of history. Okay? Methodology. So in this chapter, we said that man is not only a social animal, no? But also an artificial one. So as you can see in the picture, there are the evolution of man, two social animal, then at birth, the human individual is not independently valuable organism. We are not bad. Our body must grow and the brain must program. Okay, but the program consists not only those instructions that are necessary to the effective performance or the effective function of biological essential for our body, but also the shape, the behavioral, and the accordance with the customs, value, and in our society which we are belonging. Okay? So enculturation, enculturation is a process by the person adopt the behavior pattern of the culture where he lives in. Okay? So there are the few human societies in which the history of the group does not play an important role in the enculturations of the young. Okay? So yeah, this picture presents how the enculturation transformed by using the stories that told, the songs, no, the dances, the ritual, and the performed. Okay? So enculturation, in Western society before the 17th century, religion played a leading role in the process of enculturation. The theology was its intellectual helpmate. Okay? Helpmate. Historian. They say that not all historians are happy to play such a role. They regard themselves in unpretentious imperialists, studying the past only in order to discover what really happened. But even they find writing tests in the service of social enculturation. So that's the historian. Next. So that's the introduction of our the chapter that we're going to discuss. And in this chapter, there are the four topics. First, we're going to discuss the historical explanation and the natural science model. Okay. Second, the metaphysical history. Third, the historical explanation as part. The historical events and social roles. So first, the historical explanation and the natural science by model, Campbell's we're going to discuss the papers or the thesis and its critic of the. Okay. So let's it's going to I give you some background, the personal background, biology or background of Carl Hempel. Okay, in 1905 to 1997, no? Hempel was born a German-born philosopher who immigrated to the United States. Okay? So he was the principal proponent of the covering law theory of explanation and the paradoxes of information as the basic element, the theory of science. He studied mathematics, physics, philosophy in Göttingen, Heidelberg, Vienna, and Berlin. With the help of Rudolf Carnap, he managed to lead Europe before the Second World War. And he taught at the University of New York, Yale University, and Princeton University. In Vienna, he attended some meetings of the Vienna Circle, and he came to Chicago on a research grant secured by Carnap. Okay. So, Hempel's thesis and its critic. So, the philosophy of science has two objectives. First, to prescribe and prescribe. Okay? To prescribe the procedure that must be employed if one aims to make a statement or true statement about the empirical phenomena that penetrate many deep and their surface appearances. And the second, to describe, it is the procedure that are in fact employed by practicing scientists and scholars. Okay? So, epistemology criticism, it consists of comparing the information furnished by the latter activity with the principles derived from the former. Okay? So, contending that they are universal. In Hempel's 1942 essay on history, it's one of the examples of this method, okay? In containing that there is a universal method of analysis, is applicable to all empirical phenomena. So, Hempel argues that historians can provide valid explanation of past events only by casting their narrative account in a form that is fundamentally the same as the employed by the natural sciences. Okay? So, chance and divination. Let's proceed this. Hempel asserts that the historian reduces the content of the event that he examines are chance and divination, and to explain them by means of divination. Okay? So, the debate that was initiated by Hempel's paper, they cannot be reviewed, and they shall concentrate to the main point, main point of the defender of these critics, okay, the epistemology. So, commentators focus upon in prescribing for historian. Hempel given correct description of the epistemology of the natural science themselves. So, since it deals with the empirical phenomena employed, same methodology as other empirical disciplines. Okay? So, epistemology, while others argue that this is beside the point, so the doctrine epistemological mysticism itself unacceptable, and The discipline that deals with the human social phenomena require the application of different method of investigation, the doctrine of epistemological pluralism. Okay? So, in this picture shows the general laws that Hempel's account that the epistemology of science, aiming emphasizing the importance of general law. Okay? As the title of his paper indicate, Hempel is mainly concerned with the latter contention of that any explanation of a historical event, the use of general laws provide the warrant for the inference and connection exists between empirical phenomena. Okay? So, covering law model. So, the covering law model has three components. The event, that one which is to explain, another event that's suffices to produce event, and valid general law that describe a necessary connection between event of group and event of types. Okay? So, Hempel consisting of three components of this model is the occurrence of a specific event. First, is deductively, logically, entail the statement in the form. In effective historical explanation, according to Hempel, it shows why an event occurred by demonstrating is to be a specific instance of general law that applies that all event or similar not. So, explanation sketch. When we proceed to the explanation sketch, Hempel recognized the difficulties that he encountered in trying to meet the requirements of his model. Okay? In practice, he notes the historian provides the explanation sketch, which is a more or less vague indication of the law and condition considered as relevant. Okay? So, he contends that the prescriptive or the historian should aim to provide the full explanation by specifying explicitly the general law that would fill out the explanation sketch. Okay? So, the non-casual modes of explanation, so the Aristotelian notion of teleology regards an event occurred as its final cause. Theology still survived in modern thought, and historians who view events in terms of a grand comprehensive law of history. Okay? So, but the most proponent champion, the concept of causation has generally been construed in terms that reverse the temporal order regarding the cause of the event as necessary antecedents. Yeah. Okay? So, yeah, the casual explanation required statement, but not all explanation require them. And not all statement of temporal sequence or explanation, much less quotient explanation. So, Hempel's covering law model construes the historian narrative accounting as offering the human casual explanation of event. Okay? So, William Gray, in his excellent selection of paper from this debate, notes the distinction between the cause and condition of the prominent feature of discussion. So, while Hempel and the other philosophers of science do recognize this distinction, critics regard them as the feeling of appreciating its degree importance in dealing with historical phenomena. Okay? So, Enos model, this was originally constructed as the theory of historical explanation, according to the Enos model. So, the first, all events are due to set of circumstances. Event of similar type may be due to different set of circumstances. And when we say that a specific event was caused by specific factor, so we mean it that. So, Hempel model and Enos model. Okay? So, Hempel's model and the Enos model. So, Hempel's argument can be construed simply as assisting that any statement of the sufficient set should include the relevant covering law. Okay? So the debate between Hempel and his critics is reduced to this. Hempel emphasized the role of covering law. So while the critics emphasize the distinction between causes and the condition. So let's proceed to the metaphysical history. Okay? So in this chapter, this topic, the phrase of refer to the notion of the past event are manifestation of universal design. The apprehension of which is chief task of the historian is the covering law model, and with large and so speak instead of calling upon the historian to state. So this is described in the literature as the metaphysical history. Okay, so the phrase philosophy of history is too broad to this genre. So Karl Popper and F.A. Hayek, Isaiah Berlin, the historism and historiosophy, it refers to here a metaphysical history because they approaches historical events in a metaphysical mode. So, they all love joy. So, study the metaphysical concept of the word of reaching, of being, and harmonious order. Okay. So, discovering the one in the many is there the task of the historian rather than the analytical philosophy. So since the one is the concretely manifest dynamic force and sequential event, the historian studies. So Karl Menger, the idea of the one that is in the many is the revealed in history can be found in many 18th century and early 19th century. So Karl Menger, in his first polemic against the German Historical School of Economics, observed that the various proponents of the philosophy of history agree that there are inner essential singularity at work within history, phenomenal diversity, but the identity acquired differently. So, Perrot, Turgot, and Lurox, the proof of the constant advance of the human race in historical development. Next, Condorcet, the proof of that the development of the human race takes place in definite epoch. The proof that history in the progress realization of idea of freedom by Michelet. Okay, by Herder, the process toward the realization of the idea of humanity. Bolden and Vito, Vico, the history individual notion shows a rising line, a peak and a falling line of development. Schelling, the proof that the ultimate goal of all history is the formation of the state in which freedom and necessity attain harmonious union. By so, the proof of French civilization, the type of human civilization in general. Carminger again. Does not mention explicitly the writer. The writer who was important in introducing metaphysical history in Western. In the intervention of Hegel and Marx and Engels, but the impact of European intellect was much broader than this. So idea of metaphysical history. So Hegel's main impact derived from the promotion of the general idea of metaphysical history rather than his particular metaphysical conception and the details of his argument. So most of those who were inspired by Hegel, like Marx and Engels, felt free to construct their own metaphysical history or social studies or theories, devote the Hegel specific or select whatever Hegelian's element they wish. Okay? So, since René Descartes is the discourse of method in 1637, Western philosophy and mind-body problem, he concerned with the existence of two distinct or seemingly disjunct type of phenomena. Okay? So, Leibniz attempt to solve this problem to harmonious order in relevant some major issue in social theory. The problem continue to be debated because there are only two synoptic solutions, and both of which are unacceptable. For the Romantics, a prime defect of the mechanistic philosophy was an ideal of human freedom and it's emphasizing as they did the importance of the individual and his power of influence. They rejected the view that the world is a law governed and in the way that the natural scientists asserted. Okay? So, J.G. von Herder, they insisted that the individual person is a member of a larger whole of society. So, the canon of reason. Okay? Hegel's concept of the canon of reason was an elaboration of Giambattista Vico's argument that providence realized its intent through the history that men make their actions, or men are free to act, but the desire that motivate them as a social being are part of the cosmic plan of land, freedom, and necessity are one. Okay? So, in the connection between the metaphysical and philosophical, political philosophy, so metaphysical history appeal to the Romantics of assuring them, despite of defeats the previous century on the field of thought and practice. So the ultimate victory of this would be the human history has a transcend purpose or goal. So like all who embrace such conception of history, they interpret this goal as realization of society that would um, embody their own ethical and political values. Okay? So, John Stuart Mill, the empirical history, fails to pay attention to the philosopher since human perversely refuse to obey the law they claim how to discover. Not discover, but it would be erroneous to convey the impression that the concept of history as the government of general law appeal. Okay, so John Stuart Mill, for example, who shared none of these dreams and wrote his great treatise on epistemology, the system of logic, in 1843 to support the empiricists, held that the course of the human history subject in general. So, historical explanation as art. So, in Hempel's 1942 essay, contrasts his methodological thesis with the familiar view that genuine explanation in history is obtained by the method which characteristically distinguish the social from the natural science, namely the method of empathetic understanding. Okay? So, according to this view, the historian must go beyond the specific empirical evidence that reveal true explanation. Okay? So, documents, statistics, they must study the general culture of the time and place. So, its literature, arts, language, etc. in order to arrive of understanding of what life was. And life was like, how people thought, their hopes and fear, their conceptions of themselves to their society and the world. The most proponent name in the 20th century expression, Karl Marx, Benedict Horst, R.G. Collingwood, but it will assist our comprehension of when we go back to its origin in 18th century. In writing of Giambattista Vico, J.G. von Herder, So, Vico views of history that identify him as a metaphysical historian. So, Herder did not make the same promoting the notion of history as the art of cultural understanding, the cultural pluralism, the social pluralism, okay, and expressionistic individualism that was to become the characteristic of Romanticism. Okay? So, to desire for individual self-expression is fundamental to man's nature, but Herder says that individual can develop his capacity and realize his potential only by belonging to a community, united with other members, sharing common culture, cultural homogeneous societies, and okay. So, the historical event and social laws, historical phenomena. So, the event that took place at Pearl Harbor, morning of the 7th December 1941, can be called historical event, historical. But in the loose sense, but their specific historical import may be specific or various describe, for example, the bombing of Pearl Harbor, no, by Japanese aircraft. The attempt by the Japanese to obtain naval predominance of the Western Pacific. Okay? So, the historical phenomena event do not carry natural descriptions and different historical describe them differently. Okay? So, depending upon whether he set out the right and military history, political history, and economic history, a religious history, and that's called the historical event and the social law. Okay, so I thank you for your listening. I hope you learned something, and God bless. Good afternoon.